You know how many wonderful ideas you've had. Stuff that God gave to you, you thought was, man, this is it. You went in there to your friends and your family, and they shot it down. You know why they shot it down? Because they ain't see it. Because God ain't give it to them. Because he put it in your imagination. If he'd have wanted them to imagine it, he'd have put it in their head. That's why people can't see what you're going to be. That teacher mind, look at you, you're standing there. You can't even talk. How they going to put somebody like you on TV? I wasn't going to stutter forever. Because nobody else from 112th Street ever been on TV. You ain't think I'd be the first. You know why? Because you ain't see it. God didn't put me being on TV in her head. I was just dumb enough to think it could happen. When you gonna get dumb enough to think that your imagination is real? If I was you, I'd hurry up and get that stupid.
You have to work on yourself on a regular basis for mental mindset. For mental mindset and stamina. Because things are going to happen to you. I believe that the reason that most people go to their graves with their talents and abilities and skills in them is because of the fact, number one, many are like me. I thought I knew myself, and I really didn't know myself as well as I thought. I've discovered that sometimes people can take you to a place within yourself that you can't go by yourself. I was afraid. I never worked for a major corporation. I wanted to speak for corporations. I was afraid I would be exposed. I felt inferior because of the fact that I don't have a college education. I allowed that level of fear of failure to stop me. I assumed that I could not do it. I was paralyzing myself by believing and assuming the limited part of myself as opposed to believing that I had something special. Because you don't know how to do it doesn't mean that you can't learn. I like something that I heard. You don't have to be great to get started, but you have to get started to be great. Leap and grow your wings on the way down. See, the people that will live their dreams, the 2% that will do that, these are risk takers. They're risk takers. They don't mind failing. They don't mind making mistakes. They're willing to take life on, take life in the collar. If you're not willing to risk, you cannot grow. And if you cannot grow, you cannot become your best. And if you cannot become your best, you can't be happy. And if you can't be happy, then what else is there? Life is short and unpredictable. Eat the dessert first. Make it important to become financially independent. You know, people say money won't make you happy, but everybody want to find out for themselves. Money's not important, but it's right up there with oxygen. And let me tell you something, fellas, even if you're as humble as I am, you got some money, some women will find something cute on you. He's got to walk like Denzel Washington, you know. I used to be so broke, I'd walk past a bank and trip the alarm. Repeat after me, please. I'll never be broke again. Never, never, never.
The remnants, things most people would discard, God will use them to take you to where He has prepared. Their brokenness became their breakthrough. Now quit being discouraged over what you've lost. What you have left is what you need. God didn't let you lose so much that you can't make it to where He's taking you. You didn't need the boat. What they thought was of no use, discarded pieces of wood, was actually what they needed to make it to the shore. When you're in a storm, you have to do like Paul, grab on to the broken pieces. That means keep believing that you're coming out. Keep declaring favor over your life. Keep thanking God for His goodness. He didn't change His mind. The boat may have fallen apart, but you're still going to stand before Caesar. What God promised is still going to come to pass. My father had a dream as a 17-year-old boy that one day he would pastor a church with thousands of people. Back in the 1930s, that was unheard of. There weren't any large churches. Against all odds, he was able to go to college. He started pastoring a successful, growing church. They had almost 1,000 members. They just built a beautiful new sanctuary. Everything was going great until a storm hit. My sister Lisa was born with something like cerebral palsy. My father began to search the scriptures in a new way. He started speaking to his congregation about how God is a healer, how He wants us to live an abundant, victorious life. Much to his surprise, they didn't like his new message of faith, and they asked him to leave. He was devastated. He had spent years pouring into those people. Now it looked like his dream was over. But that storm is not keeping you from your destiny. It's leading you to your destiny. God is directing the winds. He and my mother went out and started Lakewood. My father had lost over 90% of his congregation. He was no longer affiliated with his denomination. He didn't have support from his colleagues. Lifelong friends never spoke to him again. But God says, you're going to make it without the support, without what you've lost, without the new building. The boat may have fallen apart, but God is still on the throne. What you lost is not near as important as what you have left. My father was faithful. Lakewood grew, and just like God promised, he pastored a church of thousands. But suppose he would have been bitter because they asked him to leave. Suppose he had given up because of the bad breaks, the betrayals. He'd have never made it to the shore. He would have never stood before Caesar, so to speak. You don't know what God is up to. These storms that none of us like are a part of our destiny. Are you sitting on the sidelines, discouraged over what you've lost, what you didn't get, who didn't stay? God is saying, if you'll get your passion back, if you'll start believing again, you're still going to get there. Despite what you've lost, despite who was against you, despite the mistakes you've made, God's calling is still on your life. His assignment is still in your future. New levels are still waiting on you. In the scripture, there's a story about a little boy named Mephibosheth. He was the grandson of King Saul and the son of Jonathan. David and Jonathan were best friends. Mephibosheth was born into royalty, destined to one day take the throne. But life didn't turn out the way he thought. His father and grandfather were killed on the same day in a battle. The maid that took care of him, when word reached their city, she grabbed Mephibosheth, took off running out of the house, trying to hide him from enemies that were coming. She tripped on the steps, dropped Mephibosheth, and both of his legs were broken. He became permanently crippled. He could no longer walk. Years had passed. Now instead of living in the palace like he thought, he was living in one of the poorest, most rundown cities of that day. Seemed like a bad break, just bad luck. Wasn't even his fault. The maid dropped him. But God is not dependent on what someone else does or doesn't do to get you to your destiny. People may have dropped you, but God knows how to pick you back up. Years later, King David was reminiscing about how much he loved his good friend Jonathan. He asked his men if any of Jonathan's relatives were still alive. They said, yes, his son is, but he's crippled, living in the slums. David said, go find him and bring him to me. You can imagine as these officials from the palace start searching the slums, word quickly spread, they're looking for Mephibosheth. When he hears, he thought, oh man, I'm done now. They have finally found me. He expected the worst, but they picked him up and carried him to the palace. They cleaned him up, put new clothes on him, brought him before David. He was afraid, didn't know what was going to happen. David said, Mephibosheth, don't worry. From now on, you're going to live in the palace with me. Every night, you're going to eat dinner at my table. Not only that, I am giving you all the land that belonged to your father and your grandfather. Like him, it may look like there's no way what God promised you could still come to pass. It's too late. You've had too many bad breaks. The odds are against you. If Mephibosheth were here, he would tell you, you're still going to get there. Despite who dropped you, despite how unfair it was, despite how impossible it looks, you're going to make it without the boat, without what you thought you had to have. God has the right people already lined up to help you. People that will make up for what you didn't get. Now don't stay focused on what you've lost. What you have left is what you need. There's power in the broken pieces. May not look like much, but when God breathes on them, you will make it to the shore. Now believe and declare you're still going to get well. You're still going to meet the right person. You're still going to accomplish your dream. Favor is coming. Healing is coming. Promotion, vindication, breakthroughs, the fullness of your destiny. 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 Of your destiny.
Life is not easy at all. There's going to be challenges. You're going to get beat down. That's the way life is.
You sort of put a mask on your face and you go home and lay in your bed when no one's looking at you, when you don't have to impress anybody, and you're yourself. And fear comes in. Maybe you don't know for sure what's going to be happening in the future, and it scares you. Just that fear paralyzes you. And I just want to ask you today, do you think you have hope?
At some point, everything's going to go south on you. Everything's going to go south, and you're going to say, this is it. This is how I end. Now, you can either accept that, or you can get to work. That's all it is. You just begin. You do the math. You solve one problem, then you solve the next one.
And it doesn't matter how you get knocked down in life, because that's going to happen. All that matters is that you got to get up.
You have to get up.
Whatever experience you're having right now, it has not come to stay. It has come to pass. Sometimes you have to just back up and go within yourself and pray and meditate and recharge your batteries. Go away, clear your head, and then come back and look at it from a different vantage point. Don't operate while you're under the spell or the effect of what's going on. Don't allow your emotions to control you. We are emotional, but you want to begin to discipline your emotion. If you don't discipline and contain your emotions, they will use you. You don't have to force yourself or motivate yourself to think negatively, to be depressed, to beat yourself up over the head, to feel loaded with guilt. You don't have to make any effort to do that. Your mind is on automatic. It will do that by itself. But if you want to begin to move into your own personal greatness, you've got to be willing to go against the tide. You've got to be willing to harness your will and say, in spite of this, I'm in control here. I'm not going to let this get me down. I'm not going to let this destroy me. I'm coming back.
You ask me, what do you want? Man, I want to be diamond. Tell me something I don't know. Everybody wants it. But the raw reality of it is, everybody don't get it. And the crazy thing is, if you want it, you can get it. It's not like somebody is stopping you, holding a gun to your head and telling you you can't get it. It's a matter of will. It's a matter of hard work. It's a matter of sacrifice. It's a matter of dedication. It's a matter of commitment.
The difference is not the genetic code, the potential. It's a guy that's willing to get knocked down, finally tells someone fortune, stand back up. The perseverance to see it through. The never say die attitude.
We know the battle ahead. We know the journey ahead is going to get tough. We know we're going to face obstacles. We know it's going to be some discomfort. We know they're going to try to break us. We know they're coming for us. We know that's going to happen already. So let's make up in our mind before the battle that we're going to be victorious.
Don't cry to give up. Cry to keep going. Don't cry to quit. You already in pain. You already hurt. Get a reward from it. At the end of pain is success. You're not going to die because you're feeling a little pain.
You tell yourself, I won't give up. When that depression hits you, come out of nowhere, you tell yourself, I won't give up.
There's no guarantee that because somebody is now down on their luck, they can never come back. Who can guarantee that you can't make it? That you can't have your dream? Who can guarantee that you can't do what you want to do? No one can do that. No one can predict that. You don't know what the possibilities are for your life.
Because if you're willing to go through all the battle you got to go through to get to where you want to get, who's got the right to stop you? It's your right to listen to your gut. It ain't nobody's right to say no after you earn the right to be where you want to be and do what you want to do.
All we need to do is we look at our dreams as we get ready to hit the floor. I'm blessed and highly favored.
I don't care if you sick. I don't care what you're going through. If you not dead, he ain't through with you yet. As long as you waking up, you still in the game. As long as you alive, you can still make it happen. As long as there's breath in your nostrils, boo, you still in the game. You still can win it. Now get your butt up.